Buying a home of your own. Does it seem like it's out of your reach? Or maybe it just sounds scary? Well, today we'll have some help for you on home buying issues that come up, whether it's getting that loan or something else. This is Weekend Connection. My name is Mike Dyes. Now, let's get connected as we think about home buying. Well, you could say it's a key part of the American dream to buy a home of your own. Whether you envision the suburban house with the white picket fence or a condo downtown, today we consider some of the steps to reach that goal of home ownership. Our guest today is Laura Schlachtmeyer, Senior Financial Education Content Specialist with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The CFPB is a U.S. government agency dedicated to helping make sure that you're treated fairly by banks, lenders, and other financial institutions. Laura, welcome to Weekend Connection.
Mike, it's good to be here.
Well, let's talk about getting that home that so many people are wanting as part of their long-term goals, more specifically, thinking about mortgages, and that's probably the biggest purchase we have in life when it comes to buying something is to buy that home. It can be an exciting time for people to buy their first home, can't it?
Absolutely. And a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about and envisioning the home that they want and envisioning themselves in that home and spending a lot less time perhaps on finding the right loan for that home. So that's where getting that information and putting together your plan for financing the home is also an important part of that dream.
That's right. And we don't want to burst any bubbles, but when we talk about owning a home, technically we don't really own it usually when we buy it. We're taking out that loan, somebody or often some company actually owns it until we pay off the loan. And I would think one of the first things you need to decide is how much you can afford. How do we know? Because the bank may offer this much that they'll loan to us. Is that the only way to determine how much we can afford when we're buying a house?
I think getting a loan offer is not maybe the best starting point. It's a little bit like starting in the middle, like walking into a movie like an hour after it starts. You've missed a bunch of important information that you need to make your decision. Mm-hmm. One of the first things I would say is to check your credit. Is your credit as good as you can make it? Have you checked your credit reports for mistakes that could be lowering your scores, erroneously? So that's definitely getting your credit in line is a good first step. Then I would take a look at your spending. I don't mean like a budget, like an ideal what you should be spending. I'm talking about a budget or your current spending, what you actually are spending by looking at your checking account, looking at your credit card statement, see what you're really spending over the course of a few months, and then compare that to your income. In that spending, make sure you're not ignoring emergencies or one-time expenses that come up because they tend to always come up. So there's always something every month, whether you take your dog to the vet, your car gets towed, whatever it is, something happens, so you need to expect that spending as well. Take a look over a few months and then you can see how you are really doing. At that point, you can start to design your budget. That is what you want to be spending. And that includes all of your housing costs, everything put in together. That would be the cost of your mortgage, as well as the rest of the costs like insurance and repairs and remodeling that you might want to do, condo fees, homeowner association fees, utilities like water and garbage and things you might not have been paying before, but that you would pay now. And finally, look at what you're going to need to spend up front. And that means your down payment, also your closing costs, and then maybe you're ready to start digging into some calculators and seeing what kind of home you might afford, what kind of loan that would take, and what kind of loans you can get.
So it sounds like we need to do our homework first before we even go to the bank to seek a loan. You mentioned the credit score. As I understand it, you can get a free report once a year on your credit score. Is that right?
Well, there's a difference I want to clarify between looking at your credit reports and looking at your credit scores. So your credit reports are the things that list out all of your borrowing behavior and your repayment behavior. And you're entitled to look at those reports. You're entitled to request them for free. You can today you can look at them online actually every week at no cost. So you can be checking those reports constantly to make sure that they are up to date, that they reflect all of your current payments, all the status of your current accounts, that there's nothing on those reports that doesn't belong to you, things like that that you want to be careful about checking. Now, when it comes to credit score, the credit score is definitely based on your credit reports. So it's good to check your credit reports first, make sure those are accurate, and then your credit scores will reflect those. These days, you can often get a credit score. Sometimes it's on your loan or on your bank statement. Sometimes you can see them online through your bank. We actually have a list somewhere of which institutions, which banks and lenders are showing people their credit scores for free. And then you can also ask a credit counselor, housing counselor. They can usually get those scores for you as well. And they may not be exactly the same scores that your lender is looking at, but they should be in the ballpark.
We're talking with Laura Schlachtmeyer from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And let me ask you, what should the prospective home buyer look for as far as a loan? It's not just finding the right home. You need to find the right loan. What should you be looking for when you go out searching for that?
It's a good rule of thumb to get at least 3 different loan offers. That way you can be sure that you're shopping around and you're not just using the one that is most familiar or easiest for you, that you're doing your shopping and seeing a range that you can qualify for. The offers might be different in terms of the loan, the length of the loan, certainly the interest rate, and then there might be some other features included in the loan, other types of provisions like points or discount points that you might pay. But the important thing is to compare a couple of different offers that you get from different lenders.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the basic terms that come up when you're looking for a home and you're looking for that loan. One is principal. What do we mean by the term principal when it comes to buying a home?
The principal is the amount that you are borrowing. So that's the actual loan amount is your principal. For most loans, each payment is made up of a repayment of the principal amount plus an amount of interest. So that is the interest payment as a percentage of the loan that you're paying back.
And often insurance is included in that payment, isn't it?
Typically, yes. Homeowners insurance is typical for, you need to make sure that the home is insured so that you and the bank or the lender are covered in the event of loss. But you may also have PMI, which is mortgage insurance that protects the lender's interest in your home.
Right. That's one of the things I was going to bring up. And another term that comes up is prepayment penalty. You think that paying it off early would be a good thing, but sometimes the bank doesn't want you to pay it off early, do they?
Right. So check the loans that you're offering because that will be disclosed for you if there is a prepayment penalty for paying additional amounts as part of your mortgage payments.
Well, let's talk about refinancing a home. Suppose you have gone through the process and now you own it. Is it a good idea to refinance your home? What are you looking for when you're thinking about that? What are some of the things that go into deciding now is the time and or is it ever the time? What are you looking for when you think of refinancing?
Typically, people look at refinancing if they have a loan that they are paying off and that current interest rates that they might be able to get on a loan are lower. However, you should also keep in mind that a refinance transaction often has the same closing costs as your original mortgage might have had.
Hmm. We're talking with Laura Schlachtmeyer with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Sometimes we deal with things that are unpleasant when it comes to home ownership, and one of those possible things down the road is foreclosure. Even though we don't want to think about it, it is a possible thing in the future. People perhaps get ill or they get laid off and they're not able to make the payments. What is the process that goes into thinking about foreclosure and how you might be able to avoid it? Some people might not even want to think about the issue, but it does help to be active in dealing with this problem when it comes up, right?
Yes, absolutely. When you hit unexpected money problems that are going to cause a problem for this type of a loan, the best thing I can say is to take the call if your lender is trying to get in touch with you, or make the call to reach out to your lender and tell them about it. If it's, and this goes for anything, whether it's your landlord, mortgage servicer, credit card company, if they're trying to reach you and you know there's an issue, pick up the phone. And if you know what's going on for you before you fall behind, go ahead and make the call. It can keep you from getting deeper into problems. And Mike, I might put in a quick word about turning to family and friends for help. This is not unusual. People tend to turn to their circles in situations where they're feeling a pinch. And the thing is that these are usually your important relationships. It is much better if you go into these sort of borrowing, lending, exchanging, doing favors situations with clear expectations so that you don't have misunderstandings later. The CFPB has a worksheet that helps you with some questions to ask yourself and to ask the other person to see if you're ready to enter into some kind of a financial relationship like that, or a financial exchange like that. Good ways to have the conversation. Make sure you understand the other person's needs and point of view, and to understand when the commitment comes to an end. Sometimes they're loans, sometimes they're more like other types of exchanges, but getting clear on those arrangements can really be useful. Coming back to talking to your lender, yeah, a foreclosure is when the lender or mortgage servicer is ready to take back the property after the owner falls behind on the mortgage payments. But you do probably have options before you get to that point. So if you want to stay in your home, start the conversation with your mortgage servicer, and you can talk to a housing counselor. This is usually free or low cost in your area. Even if you want or need to leave your home, you might have better options than just walking away from that property with the loan.
Yeah, I've heard that some people or companies recommend that you stop making any mortgage payments at all, and there's a danger in that too.
There is a danger in that, and I think by working with your servicer, there are options that can make it possible for you to have either a temporary or permanent reduction in your payments. And there are lots of trade-offs to be considered when you talk to your servicer about that. And that's kind of why talking to a housing counselor can also really help, just to understand the terminology, the trade-offs, and what your lender might be offering you.
Well, we didn't get to everything, but we have been able to cover important issues here about home ownership and things related to it. For more information, though, how can people get more from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, your printed resources, or finding a counselor? And I see that there's a Hope hotline. How can people get help?
On the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's website, which is consumerfinance.gov, you can search for all kinds of information about foreclosure, if that's your situation, about home loans, about maintaining your mortgage, about all of these vocabulary terms that we have talked about, just easy ways to look those up, and general help for housing insecurity, finding the right loan for your situation, worksheets, guidebooks, all of that.
All right, that's consumerfinance.gov. consumerfinance.gov. Laura Schlachtmeyer, Senior Financial Education Content Specialist with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Thanks for coming and sharing with us today.
Thanks, Mike. It's been a pleasure.
My name is Mike Dyes. Thanks for joining us for Weekend Connection.
Thank you for listening to this feature, a production of BBN, the Bible Broadcasting Network. BBN provides 24-hour Christian programming, great Christian music, and Bible teaching. Listen to BBN by clicking the link in the description.